Tough year for our sport. 2021's looking better. When I see all you fans out there that spend your weekends with us, supporting us, it gets me fired up. Who out there wants to watch us do it 3 times in a row? All right, y'all just keep watching us. Keep supporting NHRA. I'm going to hold it to the floor, I promise you.
There you have it. He is your E3 Sparkplugs Pro Modified World Champion. He's holding the ring, Stevie Fast Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Top Fuel Dragsters. Let's light them up. And now Alan Reinhart will tell you about...
Of course, after Atlanta and then yesterday, it was not fun.
How great is it to be back in business, though, where we can actually talk to the fans, we can welcome them in, we can have a little bit of that interaction that we didn't get to have very much of last year?
Well, I had a lot of years where I was able to spend time with the fans, and sure, it was the best deal I ever made, best decision I ever made, because it's... they haven't forgotten me. That's very obvious.
Well, there's nobody in drag racing is ever going to forget you. The first 3-time champion, of course, the first female professional champion. It amazes me now when we look at all of the success that the female drivers are having, and I'm talking like from the junior ranks to obviously Erica to the girls in Top Fuel and Alexis, #1 qualifier in Funny Car, and every one of them gives you credit for paving the way. He said, hey, Shirley's the one that made it possible, that made me dream and think that I could do this.
They really say that?
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, that's quite a compliment. It was just, I was in the right place at the right time, I guess.
But you had the ability. Let's be honest. There were a lot of people out there trying to drive those cars that couldn't get it done at the time when you jumped in and did make it happen.
Well, I drove them when they were evil, and I learned a lot. I really, I was lucky I survived those years, being honest.
It was a crazy time. We'll talk a little bit more with Shirley when we get a moment. Here we've got, big header flames on a burnout out of Joe Morrison's machine. We got Artie Allen in lane #1 out of Jacksonville, Florida, the speed shop owner, Joe Morrison. In lane #2, Racers to the Rescue. He's driving the Leverage family machine. Saw a little wacky flame out of that thing on the burnout. That usually is just a barrel valve issue, and we've seen that before, and it doesn't seem to affect the run. Buddy Hall over there in lane #3. He is driving Terry Haddock's machine out of Lone Star Aluminum Repair, Terry Haddock Racing, and Krista Baldwin, granddaughter of the Greek himself, driving the car. And I love that paint scheme. That's kind of a throwback. Greek is a guy that you used to go head-to-head with all those years ago back in the days when you were match racing every week and then racing NHRA, because there were only 10 or 12 NHRA races at the time.
Yeah, but I never raced him that much.
Really?
No. There were a lot of match race cars, but he wasn't one of them, actually.
I would have figured you being from Michigan, him being from Chicago, you guys had
well, Union Grove, I would see him, and a few other places, but he was not really a match race car that I can remember, but I can't remember last week. So
I found I can remember 5 years ago better than I can remember 10 minutes ago sometimes.
Well, that's a sign of...
I know, it's sneaking up on all of us.
I know.
Now, Buddy Hall in lane #3 is not getting fireballed one. We've got a 419 for Joe Morrison. We've got a 392 at 314 for Krista Baldwin. That ought to put some smiles on the faces of the Greek team over there. And look at them, high-fiving and chest bumping each other. Krista jumps up to #8. Joe Morrison, 419 is 10. Buddy Hull, that one's going to come at a price. You saw all the flames and fire flying out of that thing. But currently, he'll go 13th. And Artie Allen sits right now in the #15 spot. Let's go to the starting line, check in with Joe.
We're here with the Greek. That was a career best for Krista. Chris, how does this feel?
It feels great being out here with her. Hope she does better at the next race.
There you go.
That dude is pretty amazing. Been doing this for a long, long time. I'm not sure he's got... No, I am sure. He doesn't have the legendary status that Shirley has. That's why Shirley hangs out with me and the Greek's down there with Joe. But you have been spending quite a bit of time with us as of late. I know you've been coming out here, meeting the fans. You've got a couple of projects going on. Shirley's Kids is still up and going.
Yes.
Very difficult getting everything through the pandemic year, but now that things are starting to come back around, it's great to see you back at the races.
Thank you. My flower garden really got some attention last year, but I didn't resort to selling flowers, but I got a chance to come to the races more than I did a couple of years before that.
Last year was the year where I think all of us go, okay, for 5 years I've been putting on this project, now I got the time, let's dive into it. So how were you keeping busy besides your flower garden?
I just staying at home and getting things done there. So I guess maybe getting ready to sell it. I don't know. I can't. I don't need any more room, and I certainly need to downsize all those collectibles.
I certainly understand that. Now, are you selling? Are you donating? Are you what's? I mean, if somebody wants a piece of that Shirley history, is that something that they could have?
No, I'm hanging on.
You're hanging on to it?
Yeah, for as long as I can.
I don't blame you. Just put in a little smaller spot.
Well, I just need a few less boxes.
I got you. Now, while you're hanging out here this weekend, if the fans want to come see you, is there someplace in particular that you can be found?
At Mike Buckner's Modern Outlaw trailer.
Okay.
And in the souvenir alley. And we have posters for sale and some, a few stories. And that's about it. I don't have the time for any more. Garlitz, he'll come to a race and he brings a whole haberdashery, I usually bring what can fit in my luggage. I'm close to home, so we offered more posters here.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Did you ever imagine in the days when you were racing that someday we'd be in stadiums like this with drag racing?
In my wildest dreams, none of us, including you, never realized what this whole thing was going to turn into.
I remember the first time I saw you on the racetrack. It was a place, Tucson Dragway, which was literally just a little piece of asphalt in the middle of the desert out in southern Arizona.
Yes.
You and Don Garlitz were there for a best 2 out of 3 match race.
Fighting over lane choice.
And you guys made the first ever 5-second runs in the state of Arizona that time. That's how long ago it was.
See,
a really
your memory
thing.
is a good deal better than mine. But really, that's amazing because a fan just reminded me of the first side-by-side 4 in Maple Grove. Mm-hmm. Myself and Joe Amato.
You and Joe.
Yes. Yeah, and those are runs that you remember.
Well, those are milestones. It's part of the history of the sport, and it's part of the reason that nobody's ever going to forget all that you have done to make us into what we are today.
Wow, that is so. Thank you. I appreciate that. For if it put a feather in the ladies' caps out there and made it a little easier for them, good. I'm happy. I was in the right place at the right time.
Well, and as I said before, you certainly had the ability to pull it off and make it happen. I remember all those days. It was so easy to hype the crowd, especially when it was you and Don, because
that was so for real.
Oh yeah, and I wasn't announcing races back then, but I was part of the crowd. I was out there cheering and yelling, and everybody knew that you guys didn't care for each other. You weren't going to get together, go have dinner. Nobody's going to send a "Hey, nice run" text at the end of the day.
He hated me, and I hated him. And it was a for real thing. I mean, if he was eliminated for whatever reason, I'd pull up to the water box and he'd walk across the track in front of me and stick his tongue out. I mean, he did everything he could possibly think of to antagonize me or, to rattle me. And he had no idea that he was just making the problem worse. So we talk about it today. Oh, he's just a grand old guy now. But I think if he was running a car and I was running a car, it would come back to bite us, I'm sure.
Well, obviously you guys were both tremendously competitive, and you both were making your living that way. I mean, if you wanted to eat, you had to win, and he felt the same way. And I think you were both each other's biggest threat, right? It's like, if I don't beat that guy, he's taking money out of my pocket.
Absolutely. We had to, it was just... if it rained, I was devastated because my people still got paid, and there was nothing left for me. My CPA said, "Sure, you're going to have to start paying yourself something. When 65 comes, you're not going to have any Social Security." I mean, it got down to that. So, pennies were tight back then, and we hung in there. Boy, did those years go fast. It is hard to believe that it's over. It's just tough to take.
Hey, Alan?
I'm not the best spectator in the world.
Yes, Joe.
Wondering, Shirley's been doing a great job on social media. They just crossed like 100,000 followers on her Facebook page. They posted a picture yesterday of our Garlitz helmets and stuff. Who's doing that for her?
Whoa. Well, they said 121,000 fans on Facebook. That's pretty stout.
That's
and
very
we
stout.
didn't buy one of those votes. No. They came to me one-on-one. So, I'm pretty excited about that.
We're going to talk a little bit more about
Yes,
that
sir.
here in just a second.
Let's
We've got
do it.
Leah Pruitt in lane number 1. We've got Clay Milliken in lane number 2. We got Mike Salinas in lane number 3. We We got Doug Foley in lane number 4. Doug Foley, who is based in Mooresville, North Carolina. If you like to root for a hometown team, Foley over there in lane number 4 is your guy, and he's got a pretty nice operation that he's working with. Leah currently sits in the number 3 spot. She was one of the cars last night that made a good solid run. That'd be the Mopar Pennzoil-backed car here in lane number 1. Clay Milliken was alongside Leah last night when he had the big fireball, but again, it didn't blow up. It just blew an oil puke line off of it, and it was an oil fire. The car really not damaged badly at all. Mike Salinas in lane number 3, Team Scrappers. Pleasanton Ready Mix, Alan Johnson, Brian Houston making it all happen over there, and Doug Foley, A&A Facility Solutions. Why not drag racing is a new marketing push that he's making. Hey, if you're out trying to get in front of fans and you're out, looking for some interaction, why not take a look at drag racing? If you're looking for a top fuel team to sponsor, he would love to chat with you. Hands up in the air in lanes 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the signal from chief to chief to chief to chief. My driver's ready. Mine too. Mine too. Doug Foley is not yet qualified. Mike Salinas not yet qualified. The cars in lanes 3 and 4, they need to fight their way into this field. About like that. 381 Salinas, 382 for Leah, 384 for Clay, and 383 for Foley. I guess I went backwards. 81, 82, 83. You got it. Leah's going to stand on her run from last night. She will stay number 3. Clay Milliken, 381, number 6. Mike Salinas, 381, number 7. Doug Foley, 383. And your hometown team just jumped right into the middle of this field. Down to Joe.
Here with Alan Johnson, your Pro Mod driver, top fuel driver, just got qualified. That's got to make you feel pretty happy.
Yeah, we just didn't do a really good job last night. It was a little tricky up here, and we just didn't hit it right. But first session here, we had to make sure we got down there, and he's qualified. That should be good to get us in the show. And this afternoon, we'll try a little harder.
Thank you.
You bet.
Brittany last night, 3.66 seconds, 333 miles per hour. She currently sits number 1. As we pull the next 4 around the corner. Now, we're talking about Facebook, 121,000 followers and climbing. How involved are you in that, or do you have a team that does that, or how does all that work?
But I do. They past crew member of mine. I've known him 25 years. Harlan Fagan handles my Facebook for me, and he will call and ask me a question, and he'll get the answer. And sometimes he'll type it in for me. Sometimes I type it in myself. But I've had a great time with the fans this year. It's been fun.
It's amazing with all the technology and especially social media now how easy it is to connect with the fans. I mean, it used to be there might be somebody that you'd see once a year or twice a year when you'd be touring around, but now they're able to encourage or sometimes criticize or get in touch with you whenever they'd like.
Well, if they criticize, we just blank them out. Positive or it's no way you're going to get through. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is nowadays. Everybody's wonderful. Everybody is awesome. Everybody is great. You know the game.
Chatting with the living legend, Shirley Muldowney, up here in the announce deck at ZMAX Dragway as the signal has gone out to go ahead and fire the next quad. Steve Torrance in lane number 1, the Capco Contractors team. In lane number 2 is Josh Hart for TechNet and Bernie's Classic Cars down in Florida. In lane number 3, Sean Langdon, the DHL Team Toyota car. And in lane number 4 for Smart Sanitizer, that is Justin Ashley. Justin, who last year was crowned NHRA Rookie of the Year and who last night unveiled Smart Sanitizing. They are a new sponsor to Justin, new sponsor to NHRA, and we're very glad to have them on board. Strutmaster's still hanging out to help out as well. They had like the co-founders of the company hanging out here this weekend and out to show off. And for Justin Ashley, they need to make a run now. They are not qualified. Got bumped out of the field in this session, but because they were one of the cars that got, well, at least a little further down the track, that gave them an opportunity to kind of sit back and watch. They just watched Doug Foley make a good solid run in that lane. Got to give him a little confidence. Sean Langdon, who's in lane number 3, is currently the number 16 guy. That's his 604 that you see down there on the bottom of the scoreboard. Josh Hart debuted down in Florida. Gainesville was his first ever top fuel race, and Gainesville was his first ever top fuel win. That doesn't happen very often. And Steve Torrance, he is now a 3-time champion. That's the Capco Contractors car in lane 1. more fun than last night, wouldn't you say? 3.801, 324, Justin Ashley. 3.882, 277, Sean Langdon. 466, early shutoff for Josh Hart. And for Steve Torrance, a 447 at 171 miles an hour. So Steve and Josh will stand on their runs from yesterday. Justin Ashley goes from the outside all the way up to the number 6 spot for the Smart Sanitizer, folks. Nice job for Team Justin. Sean Langdon, who was on the bump, jumps up with a 388, and that'll get him a little more of a comfort level. Watch this again on our NHRA.TV instant replay from all the way down at the far end of the racetrack. Steve's car, a little smoke out there in the middle. Justin's car was moving over towards the wall down there towards the finish line, but he hung with it long enough to get it where it needed to be. And for Clay Milliken, when I chit-chatted with them earlier, they said that they very possibly could do an early shutoff out there, just doing a little experimentation with the tune-up. But either way, it looked like it was okay when it left this end, and they didn't run it all the way to the finish line stripe. That is certainly their prerogative. And that will bring us our final quad as they pull around to get plugged in and get ready to go. Who do you keep an eye on out here these days? I know you've been a big Matt Hagan fan for a long time in the funny cars. Now turn that back on. We're getting it.
Shows you how mechanical I am. Matt Hagan, of course. And that's really the only car I really root for. And
all those years in Top Fuel, you don't have a Top Fuel driver that you keep an eye on these days? You turned into a funny car lady?
I like Matt. He's my favorite driver out there, and he's pretty darn good, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, good guy, good businessman, good driver, and they got a heck of a team behind him over there at DSR.
Absolutely, yeah. He's awesome. There you go, awesome.
Okay.
I don't use that word very often.
Well, Matt deserves it. I don't think there's any question about that.
Something else. He's marvelous.
Brittany Force, lane number 1. Antron Brown in lane number 2. Doug Coletta over there in lane 3. That would be the Mac Tools machine. Lane 4 is the other Capco car, and that would be Billy Torrance. It's pretty amazing what the Capco team has done here over the course of the last few years. I mean, they've got 2 cars that they've seemingly cloned, and that is not easy to do in this day and age, but they've won a lot of races in the last 3 consecutive championships, and we're just waiting for the all clear at the top end of the racetrack. Looks like we may still have one sitting down there at the end. When do we get to see you again?
Well, if I could find somebody with a couple gallons of pink paint. Okay. Well, no. Pink and white, maybe. Pink and black. We'd love to debut a car. Be great.
You'd really like to get back in?
The fans would love it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
I'd love
all
it.
they
you'd
ask
really like
me.
that?
Am I going to get back in and drive a car? Well, it just depends. Depends.
That'd be awesome. You still have the fighting spirit, huh?
Oh, sure, yeah. I have some scores to settle.
She actually sits up here and flinches her right foot every time the tree flashes for you fans. She's like, like hitting a practice field
Yeah,
up here.
I don't like to force them. I don't, because the show is over too soon. And I like one-on-one. That's just the way, I'm used to drag racing, and it's just hard for me to, it's hard on the ears. It's hard on the eyes. I don't know, who to root for out there, because I can't see the number 1 car. It's just, it's new. It's still new to me.
Yeah, well, 4Wide is all about sensory overload. We put 44,000 horsepower out there. We do it twice a year. We certainly have got plenty of races for the purists. And I speak to people all the time that kind of the same thing. Like I'm an old school. I'm back in it.
We do Vegas, so it's more than twice a year.
No, we do it once in Vegas and once here. That's it.
Oh, okay. All right. Shows you how I need to catch up a little bit here.
Now, when we come back in the fall, that's during the championship run.
There you go. Right.
And at that point, we only use 2 lanes.
How do the drivers like it?
It depends on who you ask. Some of them think it's absolutely awesome, and
Yes.
some of the old school guys think, I just kind of like the one-on-one aspect. But
I'm not alone out there.
I can tell you though, the casual fans seem to really like it, because the ticket sales for 4Wide have been very good since we started. I mean, there's so many fans that are like, okay, maybe I haven't been to a drag race in 25 years, so you know what? I'm going to go give that a look. And I think if it gets them to come out to the track and gets them to come out here and reminds them why they fell in love with NHRA in the first place all those years ago, then I am all for it. So Brittany Force in lane number 1, the Flava Pack team. Team Chevrolet out of John Force Racing. David Grubnick, Max Savage, and the boys, they blistered this joint last night. Quicker and faster than anybody ever has. Antron Brown, the most recent race winner. That is the Matco Tools DSR Sirius XM satellite radio car. Lane number 3, Doug Coletta, Mobile One, Mac Tools, Toyota. And in lane number 4, Billy Torrance for Capco Contractors and Redline Oil. like a belt flew off out there in lane number 2, I do believe. 323 miles an hour for Billy. And he's going to be the only one happy with that run. Doug was out of the gas early, a 4:18 at 2:13. A 4:52 comes up on Antron's scoreboard. And for Brittany, it's a 4:26 at 194 miles an hour. So Billy will slide up to the number 9 spot. From the bottom up, we end up with Joe Morrison in the number 16 spot. Doug Coletta 15th right now. Luigi Novelli 14. How about Krista Baldwin's career best 392 puts her 13th. Kyle Wurtzel is 12. Sean Langdon is 11. Doug Foley 10. And Billy Torrance is number 9. Mike Salinas sits in the number 8 spot. Clay Milliken is 7. Justin Ashley 6. Josh Hart is number 5. The Atlanta winner, Antron Brown, is number 4. Leah Pruitt sits number 3. Steve-O, the reigning champ, is number 2. And Brittany, the track record holder in the Flava Pack car, is in the number 1 qualifying position. Well, Shirley, I want to say thank you for coming up and spending a little time. It's always a pleasure.
Delighted, thank you.
You're welcome to hang out anytime you want to, but it's good to have you here. And again, the fans that want to come see you can find you.
They can find me at Mike Buckner's Modern Outlaw Trailer.
At the Modern Outlaw Trailer,
Yes.
and you'll be back there between sessions, I'm sure?
Oh, yeah, well, the line gets long over there, so
I'm sure it does.
Be prepared.
The one thing I remember when I started going to the races where you'd walk through the pits, and if you wanted to know where Shirley was pitted, that was easy. You just go, where's all the fans? Okay, that must be Shirley down there, because they have always flocked to your
The
trailer.
line is long. Well, I spend time with them one-on-one and listen to their questions. And it's enlightening. That's how I find out most what's going on out there. The fans can tell me.
Well, I want to very sincerely
you.
thank you for making some time for me and for coming up and hanging
You're-
out with us.
you're
And I know
sweet.